The wilderness is home to anomalies, creepy crawlies, and mysterious monsters that will give you nightmares for days. Or maybe they're all just a figment of your imagination, but the evidence is too obvious to be ignored. There are monsters among us, and they are hiding in plain sight in the woods, forests, and wildernesses, waiting, lurking, and stalking their next victim. Join us on this spooky journey as we explore 20 mysterious discoveries in the wilderness that will keep you up at night. Number 20. The mystery village of Lake Anjikuni. Canada is famous for its abundance in mysteries, creepy stories, and haunted sites. But out of the many creepy things you're likely to find in the wilderness of Canada, this one might be the most disturbing. This is how the story goes. On a freezing cold day in November 1930, a fur trapper by the name Joe LaBelle was wandering in the snowy wilderness near Anjikuni Lake in the far north of Canada when he came across a small village. At the village, Joe found 6 camps, a fireplace, with the dying embers of the fire still glowing, soup hanging on the fireplace, obvious signs that there were people around. But here comes the mysterious part. There was nobody in sight. Joe searched everywhere around the camp to see if he could find anyone, but there was no one around for miles. To make this story even creepier, there were no footprints in the snow, which means the occupants of the camp must have left a long time ago. But if they did, who then made the fire and the soup that was probably still warm? As if this wasn't strange enough, Joe also found empty graves that showed signs that they had just been recently dug up, with the gravestones neatly stacked beside them. The stones surrounding the graves were undisturbed, which showed that this wasn't done by animals. But what could have pushed these villagers out, so much so that they had to bring their dead relatives along with them? As he studied the site even further, Joe also found remains of sled dogs tied to their posts, which had apparently starved to death after being abandoned by their owners. No sign of violence or conflict was observed at the site, so this clearly wasn't a case of forced exit. Spooked out of his mind, Joe LaBelle immediately alerted the authorities, who promptly launched a search operation to figure out what happened to those villagers. But no traces of them were ever found. It seems they had simply disappeared into thin air. Many people have punched holes in the story, claiming that it was either an exaggerated tale or it simply didn't happen. But Joe LaBelle knew what he saw, and he stands firmly by his story. To date, the reason for the sudden exodus of the villagers remains an unsolved mystery. Number 19, the heart of the earth. What you're looking at is not the work of Photoshop or clever video editing. This is a 100% real video taken in a forest in Quebec, Canada. When this viral video was released, many people were skeptical about the validity, but as unbelievable as it may look, this is an actual video of the forest pulsating like a heartbeat, lifting the trees and vegetation up and down with the strange motion. Imagine taking a walk in the forest, enjoying the beauty of nature and coming across this creepy scene. Nightmares for days, I tell you. Everyone scrambled to make sense of this unnatural occurrence. Could there be a giant monster sleeping under the rocks? Or is this a clever trick by the spirits of the forest? Or maybe it's even the work of aliens who we always seem to blame for anything we cannot understand. Speculations ran wild, but all our fears and excitement were put to rest when scientists confirmed that, strange as it may seem, this is actually a natural phenomenon. According to meteorologist Mark Sorois, when you study the video, you notice that the winds were very strong at the time the video was taken. This is coupled with the fact that the floor of the forest was covered with moss, which means that the roots of the trees are not firmly grounded. So, when the wind blows, swaying the trees, it lifts the root, which gives the illusion that the forest floor is breathing. Sorois's explanation has also been corroborated by other meteorologists who explain that this seemingly unusual occurrence is actually very natural and has been observed in other parts of the world. Nature is truly amazing, isn't it? Number 18. Le Lion. Is it a ghost? Is it an alien? Is it a haunting spirit just taking a walk? Nobody knows, but everyone is terrified of this being, known by the locals as Le Lion, who dwells in the woodlands of Mals in Switzerland. This mystifying figure is described by many who were unlucky enough to have met him as a tall, frightening humanoid being. Dressed in his gimp suit, strange cloak, and with a gas mask covering his head and face, he takes his usual walk, seemingly minding his business and bothering nobody. But here's the mysterious part. Even though he takes the same route every day, nobody knows where he comes from, nor where he goes, and there is only one verifiable photograph of him. Because his entire body is always covered, no one knows who's hiding under the costume, and many have proposed theories, which range from aliens to monster theories. However, many argue that this may just be an ordinary human who just loves to dress up and take walks. There have been many reported sightings, each claiming that Le Loyon was not violent, nor did he try to harm anyone, and a resident even claimed to have seen him holding a bouquet of flowers while taking his walk. For over 10 years, the people of Mall were plagued with this terror, and no matter how well they tried to solve the mystery, they still couldn't, until he allegedly committed suicide. According to certain unverified reports, a suicide note from Le Loyon was found in the Mall's forest, with a military cloak, gas mask, and the rest of his famous costume abandoned in the forest. Many people doubt the validity of the suicide note, claiming it was probably staged. The mystery of Le Loyon remains unsolved. No one knows who he was, where he was from, if he's truly dead, or if he's in hiding. Number 17. The Rake Monster of Quebec. In another creepy discovery coming out of Canada, a video of a 6-foot faceless human-like creature has surfaced online, captivating everyone and raising many questions. The being, known as the legendary Rake Monster, was filmed stalking a moose who was feeding on the side of the road. In the video, this faint, pale humanoid can be seen lurking behind the moose, moving with calculated steps like a predator preparing to pounce on its victim. Many other people who have encounters with the Canadian rake describe it as a brutal, savage, humanoid being with canine characteristics, although no accounts of attacks by the rake have been reported. However, many skeptics have disproved the video, claiming that what looked like a monster was just a speck on the car window, and that this was just another low-quality internet hoax. But this does not explain the apparent movements observed in the footage, nor the accounts of several other eyewitnesses who give jarring details of their sightings. Next time you take a walk in the woods, make sure to be on the lookout for this terrible Rake Monster. Number 16. Creepy Dollhouse. If you've seen the movie Annabelle, then you should understand why this next one is especially creepy. A hiker stumbled upon this abandoned property while exploring the woods in Ontario, Canada. This building, which is literally situated in the middle of nowhere, was found adorned with creepy dolls and stuffed animals in every corner of the house. A professional urban explorer, simply known as Dave, traveled to the site to fully explore the haunting dollhouse. In the video, you can clearly see stuffed animals scattered across every room, many of them ripped to pieces. Several discarded dolls were also found across the front yard, and a baby doll was seen sitting dramatically in front of the house, giving the building an eerie aura. Considering the condition of the driveway, the growth of the trees around the house, and the fact that the paint of the house had started peeling off, it was obvious that no one had inhabited the house for decades. Most of the dolls and stuffed animals looked like they were probably from the 90s, while some may even be from as far back as the 80s. Other items discovered in the house include religious objects, some books, Disney figurines, portraits, along with some creepy hypodermic syringes. So where did all the dolls come from? Who placed them there? And most importantly, why? Till today, we still haven't been able to crack this mystery. Number 15. Bent tree trunks. The town of Gryfino in Poland is home to our next anomaly found in the woods. Take a walk in the forest and you'll be welcomed by the strangest sight you've ever seen. Over 400 pine trees, curved in an otherworldly manner. How these trees came to be this way is a mystery that folks have been trying to solve for many years. But in spite of the many theories that exist, trying to explain the reason behind the alteration in the natural structure of the trees, we still have no final answer. These trees are estimated to have been planted in the 1930s and grew just like any normal line tree should. But along the line, many believe that an unexplained, unnatural force must have acted on them, causing the trees to take a 90-degree bend. According to Gary Coleman, an associate professor of plant science and landscape architecture from the University of Maryland, the trees must have responded to a strong gravitational pull when they were still very young, causing the trunks to bend towards the source of the pull. Another popular explanation blames the strange shape of the pine trees on alien activities. However, one has to wonder what aliens would seek to achieve by bending trees. Mysterious alien art form too complicated for human understanding. Who knows? Regardless of what caused the trees to take this strange shape, the site still remains a mystery. Number 14. The Swamp Ghost. On a sunny afternoon in 1972, a couple of soldiers were on a hike in a forest in Papua New Guinea when they came across the haunting sight of a plane crash. When they looked inside, what they found amazed everyone. Known as the Swamp Ghost, the Boeing B-17E was said to have crash-landed in the swamps on February 23, 1942, during the Second World War. The wreckage of the plane has remained fairly intact, so much so that coffee was still found in the thermoses in the cockpit. There is a very interesting story behind this plane crash that adds more to the eerie mystery surrounding this crash site. According to one of the surviving crew members of the military plane, on the ill-fated day when the plane crashed, it was piloted by Army Air Corps Captain Fred Eaton as part of an American World War II mission to bomb some Japanese positions. After successfully dropping 2 bombs, the aircraft came under heavy fire, but amazingly they were able to fight off their attackers, escaping with very little damage. As the B-17 made its way back to the New Guinea coast, she began to run out of fuel, causing the engine to cut out mid-air. The pilot, sensing big trouble, decided to land in what seemed to be an open wheat field, but unfortunately there was no open field, and the plane landed right in the Agayambo swamp. All thanks to the exceptional skills of the pilot, all members of the crew made it out of the crash alive. The next couple of weeks was hell, as they battled malaria, danger, and severe hunger before finally reaching civilization. The Swamp Ghost remains an important piece of the history of World War II, and in 2010 the plane finally made its way back home, where it is now on display at the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum in Oahu, Hawaii. Number 13. Underground bunker in Germany. While on vacation in northern Germany, an unnamed young man and his friend were taking a walk in the forest when they noticed some weird periscope-like pipes sticking out in the distance. They decided to check it out and discovered an old abandoned underground bunker not far from the pipes. The entrance of the bunker was covered with a wooden lid, which they easily removed with a crowbar. The curious boys ventured into the depths, walking down an endless hallway. They kept going straight in order to avoid getting lost, even though they noticed many interesting rooms and sections they could check out. During their well-documented exploration, the young explorers discovered many interesting sights, including several graffiti on the walls and ceilings, random holes, eerie scribbles on the wall, cryptic paintings, flooded rooms and hallways, and many other creepy finds. When the post went viral on Reddit, many people began to wonder what must have happened within the walls of the bunker and why it was abandoned. However, there has been no official information concerning the bunker, and it was promptly sealed up after the post went viral, preventing further explorations and sealing all the secrets contained within the creepy bunker forever. Number 12. The Wilderness Wanderer. A police officer was on patrol in the Amazon jungle when she spotted a dirty-looking man walking barefoot towards her. The man carried no baggage and looked very unkempt, so she initially thought he was a beggar. She tried talking to him, but there was a little problem. The man didn't speak Portuguese, so it was hard to find out where he was coming from and why he was in the middle of the forest. To further compound the problem, the man had no means of identification on him, so the police took him in. However, they couldn't arrest him because he hadn't committed any crime, so they put him in a hospital. But he ran away, and while the police were searching for him, the Canadian embassy confirmed his identity. Police identified the strange man as Anton Pilipa, who had disappeared from his home in Vancouver in 2012. Authorities immediately contacted his brother Stefan, who had almost given up all hope in the search for his brother, and immediately he flew down to Brazil to reunite with his brother. Anton, who is diagnosed with schizophrenia, had walked over 10,000 kilometers. This intercontinental journey took him across at least 10 countries, including the United States, Mexico, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Venezuela, Argentina, and Brazil. How he was able to cross the borders of these countries without a passport is still a mystery. So what was the purpose of his journey? According to his brother Stefan, Anton's goal was to get to the National Library of Buenos Aires in Argentina. Unfortunately, when he got to the library after walking for thousands of miles, he was turned away at the door because he had no ID. So he just simply turned around and headed back home through Brazil, which was where he was eventually found. Number 11. Ancient Temple of the Monkey God. Deep in the forest of the Mesquita Mountain in Honduras, there is a tale as old as time, a legend of an ancient lost city known as La Ciudad Bianca, or simply the City of the Monkey God. A city so rich in treasures of gold, silver, and other precious treasures. This ancient city has attracted many curious explorers who seek to uncover its secrets and plunder its treasures. But beware, for there is a curse upon this land. A curse so strong that anyone who dares to enter the city will die a mysterious death. For many years, the story of this lost city has driven many explorers into the jungles of Honduras, but unfortunately, many of them never make it back. But in 2012, a group of scientists were able to scan through the thick vegetation using the revolutionary LIDAR technology, and they discovered the ruins of this legendary lost city. La Mosquitia, the home of this ancient city, is the largest wilderness area in Central America, with a very dense jungle that repels human habitation. Undaunted by the failures of previous explorers before them, the team of explorers led by Douglas Preston, a famous journalist, ventured into the thick wilderness, risking life and limb in order to explore the unexplored. Their bravery was rewarded, and they became the very first set of people to set their foot on the ancient land after the original inhabitants were driven out by the monkey god. However, as fascinating as the discovery was, their excitement was cut short when the supposed curse started manifesting in all of them. But contrary to the legend, the explorers were not literally stricken by a curse, but a deadly tropical disease, and they had to abandon their finds to seek medical attention. In spite of their terrible experience, the team longed to return to the site for a more in-depth study and documentation of the famous lost city. Number 10. A pile of dead animals. In what looked like a scene from a horror movie, over 250 remains of dead animals were found stockpiled in the woodland area of Hampshire County, West Virginia. Officers responding to the scene identified several of these animals with name tags and signs of rabies vaccination, which indicated that they were pets. Most of these animals were dogs and cats, but there were also remains of rats, squirrels, foxes, deer, hawks, among many others. Authorities were first confused as to what could have dumped such a large amount of animal carcasses in the middle of the woods. Was this the work of a mysterious pet-eating monster? Or is there something more sinister at play here? Investigations showed that the animal remains came from around Greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, and that some of the animals had been previously turned over to a pet crematorium known as Family Pet Cremations. The company is responsible for disposing of dead, sick, or stray animals, and authorities suspect that they may be responsible for the illegal dumping of the remains. Authorities are still investigating the matter, and they promise that whoever perpetrated this despicable act will face the full wrath of the law. Number 9. The Colt Family. If you think your family is messed up, meet the Colt Family, the most inbred family in Australia. This weird clan, discovered on a farm near Borowa in New South Wales in 2012, has been engaging in 4 generations of incest. This transgenerational abomination began with Tim and June Colt, a couple who moved from New Zealand in the 1970s. The name Colt is a pseudonym given by the authorities in order to preserve the identity of the members of the family. The matriarch and patriarch of the clan themselves were a product of incest, and they continued the strange practice with their 7 children: Martha, Frank, Paula, Cherry, Rhonda, Betty, and Charlie. Tim Colt began to have sexual relations with his daughter Betty when she was just 12, and the abominable act spread across the family. The Colt family has since grown to nearly 40 members, from grandparents, mothers, aunts, uncles, nephews, brothers, and sisters, all who engage in a form of incest. Authorities caught wind of their activities in June 2010, when a child at a local primary school overheard another girl talking about an unkempt bush girl who had been impregnated by her brother. Police and welfare workers immediately sprung into action and found the family living in a destitute condition, with no access to clean water or basic sanitary amenities. Over the course of the next year, many of the children have been relocated to foster care, and authorities hope that they can be reoriented and rehabilitated, so they can be reintroduced into the society. Number 8. Japan's suicide forest. Now onto something a little more sombering. But before we dive in, if you are susceptible to mental health issues, you might want to skip this part. Just north of the majestic Mount Fuji, you will find Aokigahara, a large forest, with vegetation so thick that it earned the name Sea of Trees. However, this large expanse of land is not famous for its abundance of trees. It is known for something a little more depressing. Many who enter the forest never make it back, and sadly most of them had no intention of ever coming back. Aokigahara, also known as the Suicide Forest, is home to many depressed souls who choose the eerie land as their final resting place. The area is said to have the second highest rate of suicide in the world, only rivaled by the Golden Gate Bridge of San Francisco. Japan itself has a weird history with ritual suicide, and this forest has seen its fair share. It is estimated that between 30 and 100 people take their lives in Aokigahara every year, mostly by hanging. The forest is believed to be haunted by angry spirits, and many of the locals living around the area generally avoid all contact with the forest and strongly discourage anyone from going into the forest for explorations. Several suicide prevention measures have also been placed at the forest, and authorities hope to reduce the number by over 30% before 2025. Number 7. Unexploded Mine. Walking in the woods can be a very dangerous endeavor, especially in a place like Poland, where discoveries of unexploded bombs, weapons, and other ammunition is a common occurrence. Poland, which saw intense fighting during the Second World War after it was invaded and occupied by both the Soviet Union and the German army, is littered with discarded and forgotten weapons from the war. These bombs are often discovered during construction works or while simply taking a stroll in the woods. One of such occurrences happened in the city of Lublin, when over 14,000 people had to be evacuated out of their homes after an unexploded World War II bomb was discovered during construction works. Bomb disposal units worked double time to safely defuse and remove the 250-kilogram aerial bomb, which was found in an area previously used as an airport and aircraft factory during the war. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Number 6. Mountain of ceramic plates. While driving through the backwoods of Pennsylvania, a Redditor accidentally stumbled upon what looked like a white mountain from afar. Driven by pure curiosity, he moved towards the domineering figure to figure out what it was, and to his surprise and the amazement of many who saw the pictures online, it was a mountain of ceramics. The pileup contained ceramic plates, teacups, shallow bowls, and saucers. As the story went viral online, many people across the globe tried to figure out how the plates got there and why there were so many of them. Some curious explorers even went as far as traveling to Pennsylvania so they could see the mountain of ceramic treasure, now known as Pile of Crockery, for themselves. Till today, the source of this ceramic mountain remains a mystery. No one knows how they got there, who put them there, or why. Now it's time for today's subscriber's pick. Sometimes the things we encounter in the wilderness defies every scientific explanation. This was the case when a picture showing what seemed to be a portal to another dimension cut out in an unusual pattern in the forest surfaced online. Many speculations began to arise concerning what had made the strange circle. But don't get too excited. This is not a portal to another world. This strange art is the work of artist Antti, who makes many of this form of artwork as a way of catching people's attention and raising awareness for the dangers of deforestation on our planet. You scared us a little bit there, Antti, but we love your work. Number 5. Wooden statues. Taking a stroll through the Copenhagen forest might bring you face to face with the famous giant trolls that dominated the area. But don't be scared, these are gentle giants, the brainchild of Danish artist Thomas Dambo, who is famed for being one of the most prominent recycle artists of all time. You will definitely be amazed by the sheer magnanimity of these statues made from recycled wood. According to Thomas, these 6 giant statues were made in order to encourage more people to explore the Copenhagen forest. The sculptures are brilliantly situated under bridges, behind trees, on the hillsides, and within the thick, dense forest, giving an eerie, realistic feel to their appearance. Each of the troll structures were made from discarded trees that would have otherwise been thrown out. This brilliant artist takes this trash and makes it into something worth marveling at, and he hopes that his art would inspire more people to go out more and be one with nature. Number 4. Alien artworks. Have you ever wondered if ancient humans had contact with extraterrestrial life? These Australian Aboriginal artworks might help strengthen your argument. Paintings of alien-like spirit figures known as Wandjina have been discovered on thousands of cliffs and cave walls in Western Kimberley, Australia. According to Aboriginal legend, the Wandjina is a supreme being that created the country and everything in it, and reigns supreme over the affairs of the people. These tall, dominating figures are said to possess supernatural powers and are capable of striking down anyone who goes against the laid-down rules and regulations. Although many people believe that these stories are a representation of naturally occurring phenomena, the indigenous people believe that this spirit is responsible for everything that we see. From the trees to the rocks to the waters, everything comes from and is controlled by the Wandjina. However, many people prefer to ascribe the source of these artworks to alien sightings, which wouldn't have been very understandable in ancient times due to their limited knowledge about space, planets, and the universe. Number 3. Humongous fungus. For many years, the blue whale was believed to be the largest living organism on Earth. But what if there was something lurking in the woods that would literally swallow the 110-foot whale whole? Explorers discovered this strange anomaly in the Blue Mountains of Oregon, and it is unlike anything you have ever seen. This ancient mushroom, known as the humongous fungus, or Armillaria ostoyi, occupies over 2,384 acres of land, killing trees and conifers as it grows bigger and bigger every year. To put that into perspective, this humongous fungus encompasses an area that would conveniently house 1,665 football fields. How mind-blowing is that? This giant fungus was discovered in 1998 and has been dated to be over 8,000 years old, which means it could even be named the oldest living organism on Earth. Since its discovery, the growth rate of the humongous fungus has continually fascinated scientists, and it shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. Number 2. Virginia Rainbow Swamp. When images of this unusual pool of water that seemed to contain several beautiful colors surfaced online, many people were amazed and wondered what could have created such an eye-catching phenomenon. Located in southeastern Virginia, the Rainbow Pool is in the Great Dismal Swamp and was initially thought to be the result of an oil spill or other unnatural causes. Fortunately, this strange sight is totally natural and is a result of natural oils released into the water from decaying vegetation, which creates this beautiful array of colors in the water. As strange as it looks, the Rainbow Pool is perfectly safe to swim in. That is, if you're not scared of crocodiles and other dangerous animals that call the swamp home. Number 1. The Mysterious Cabin. A Californian worker made a shocking discovery while marking trees on a nature preserve. A cabin built from plywood so perfectly camouflaged that if you stood 100 feet away from it, you wouldn't even know it was there. The cabin featured a small living room with a rocking chair and a bench, all perfectly arranged. There was also a kitchen with lots of canned food, a wood-burning stove, and a small library with a typewriter. Authorities were immediately alerted, and because it is illegal to live on such a public property, a vacation notice was placed on the house. Now here's the most mysterious part. After the few days given to vacate were over, authorities were shocked to find the cabin gone, with no car traces or any noticeable signs of travel found in the area. The seeming disappearance of the cabin and all of its content left many in disbelief, because there is no possible way that anyone could have transported the cabin and all of its content without leaving any single trace. It seemed it had simply disappeared. Till date, no one has been able to explain how the cabin vanished, leaving only a strange sign on the ground as a testament that someone used to live there.